call the member for Dunkley.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I'm very pleased to speak on this MPI today, as those opposite have been remarkably vocal on the subject, and I believe that it's important to set the record straight. It is lucky that we are the ones in government, otherwise the hysteria surrounding the banking and financial services sector might have caused serious damage to the market and Australia's GDP, of which our major banks make up 9%, not to mention the risks to everyday Australians' super funds. Now, it is correct when those opposite raise that it has been 601 days that the Labor opposition called for a Royal Commission. However, it has been 3,666 days since Labor got into government in 2007, in which they had 2,115 days in government to call a Royal Commission, and they did nothing. Labor's recklessness has also shown their manipulative intentions, taking advantage of people who have been victims of banking misconduct to systemically try to undermine the stability of our financial system to score political points. Perhaps we should be discussing not only the failures of the opposition to protect customers in the banking sector, but rather the vindictiveness of the opposition and the damage that they are prepared to do to our country and our economy in order to drag down our banks. Mr Deputy Speaker, as my colleagues before me have explained, the Turnbull Coalition government has acted with a comprehensive approach towards financial sector reforms, with substantial actions that work towards furthering the national interest, such as the Murray Financial Systems Inquiry, establishing the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, providing ASIC with additional resources and powers, including introducing a new banking executive accountability regime, backing the work of the House of Representatives Standing Committee on Economics and increasing competition in the banking sector, and much, much more. Mr Deputy Speaker, if this is what the opposition considers a failure, their dogmatic behaviour towards a premature Royal Commission is worse than failure, and this is the mob who think that they're fit to govern. To continue, Mr Deputy Speaker, we've introduced further consumer protection reforms, including limiting the upfront commissions that can be paid to advisors for the sale of life insurance, to remove incentives to churn consumers into new life policies that are not in their best interests, and ensuring that retail client monies are protected where financial firms become insolvent. Furthermore, the government is supported by the Reserve Bank of Australia and the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority in ensuring that this Royal Commission does not delay other actions we are undertaking. The Laker Inquiry, BEAR, AFCA. The fact that those opposite believe that a Royal Commission will solve all the problems in the banking and financial sector simply proves the point. They are unfit and unable to govern. This Royal Commission, as implemented by the Turnbull Coalition government, not the one pushed for by Labor, is not a court or a compensation scheme, and it is cruel, irresponsible and inappropriate of those opposite to imply as much. The Royal Commission cannot deliver compensation or restitution, and any suggestion that it can or will is providing people with false hope. Furthermore, it would be irresponsible to preempt any of the Royal Commission's findings and recommendations. The Leader of the Opposition and the member for McMahon have simply shown that they are willing to use anyone and abuse the suffering of victims of banking misconduct for their own political gratification. Let's compare Labor when they were in government, when they had situations like Storm Financial and so many other banking complaints, but they didn't take any action, including when the Leader of the Opposition was responsible for these issues. Mr Deputy Speaker, let me return again to even more reforms that the Turnbull Coalition government is implementing. We are taking action to develop design and distribution obligations and a product intervention power for ASIC, so that ASIC can intervene to prevent consumer harm. We are also introducing, as I noted, a new banking executive accountability regime with enhanced powers for APRA to remove and disqualify an executive or director, direct adjustments to remuneration policies, and enforcing new expectations on bank conduct with penalties of up to $200 million. We are cracking down on poor practices in the credit card market by introducing rules for how credit is provided and interest is calculated, and making it easier for consumers to cancel cards or reduce credit limits. And we are also looking into super fund governance. We are strengthening and enhancing the corporate whistleblower protection regime as well. While those opposite have screeched about a banking Royal Commission, the Turnbull Coalition government has been implementing solid reforms to protect consumers, protect our national economy, and is getting on with the job.